10:30. Yeah, I'm starting the video. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. No, this, they don't do this on the stage, they spend the reduce that, they can't have a bigger, and they get. That's because without it, you got just, yeah, you know, this is, screen was which would show you the person that's speaking. We can have that visitor, but if you hear, they click there. A lot of that's what they do in government. We're first, the person that we're talking to. Now, it feels
Oh, ready? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to CDD. I'd like to do a special thanks to Leland for doing the setup for us. We're used to having it done at the courthouse, so I thank you very much for doing this. I thank everyone for coming out. It's nice to see a crowd like this, especially when we have important decisions to make today. Some of it pertain to your money, so thank you here. I'd like to start the meeting by introducing everybody. I am Goldstein, the vice chair. We have Joe LeBret. We have John Spulligan. We have Ken Walters. We have Ryan Mendez, who's our representative and also our management. Les Neighbor is not here, so we have his substitute. Kyle McGee. Kyle, thank you for coming. And we have Eddie Sanders, who's our engineering consultant. Thank you all for coming.
But we can't put that down.
We don't have any pledge on here, but you can do that. Okay. John Small, thank you, John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you go.
Yeah, that was some public comments.
Yes, I
want to be.
All right, at this time, the board will invite Jerry to the mic. Jerry. Just need your name and address for the record when you get a chance.
Just turn the switch. Gerald Burdick, 3373 Town Bowles Circle. Been here for about 7 years, and I wanted to mention how the budget last year went up about 10% for expenditures. And this year, I thought it'd be easier. And we're going from 951,000 to 1,054,000, increase of $109,000. Little over 10%. Again, can we take a hard look at this? Some of these things are correct. Like the amount for sidewalk pressure washing goes from 30,000 last year to 85,000 this year, $55,000 increase. Now, I remember last year, I think the first time I told them to do sidewalk washing, straight from the sidewalk. They didn't do it, I don't think, for the years before, didn't do it for, many years. Why are we doing it again the following year? Does it really need it? Some of the dirt does wash out from the, underneath the soil onto the sidewalk because the soil is so high and the sidewalk is lower. But this year, there's only 23 inches of rain so far versus last year at the same time, 33 inches of rain in the area for Melbourne. So they're getting less of a washout. The sidewalk not that bad. And yes, there are some spots that are a little bit spongy, but they're drying out faster than they were before. And it's not the whole sidewalks. Last year, when I saw the people working, I'm wondering, why are they doing all the sidewalks? And I was told,
Yeah, 1 minute.
because the contractor won't accept it unless it does the whole contract, the whole sidewalk. So we should get somebody who will do just part of it. It's not a scientific thing. Anybody can go out and rent one of those scraping machines. And then what are you gonna do with the white paint? You have to put the white paint on all the sidewalks that are horizon. It's nice that we have it, that people don't trip. So why, you're gonna have to scrape off the white paint and you're gonna paint it again? Let it go for a year. That's $80,000 you're sitting there. And, how many people really complain about the sidewalks having to be sprayed? But I see, how many people complain about it? No. Oh, one person. Oh, one person. Just do that person there. Pretty much like that you want. Okay, you're loving it.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for those comments. At this time, we are inviting Wayne. Hey, Chris, give us news.
Thank you. Lee Marie's 3011 Cameron Circle. And I know most of you, and I know you're all trying to do the best you can for the community. I truly thank you for that. When I look at the who's responsible for chart, the CDD is responsible for parks, sidewalks and curbs, pedestrian bridges, legacy boulevard landscape, legacy street lights, stormwater ponds, entry monument, entry fountains, irrigation pumps, among other problems. But I don't see how it's related to either the size of the lot or the type of home that you have. So my question is, we have aging community with aging infrastructure, it's only gonna get worse, and I understand that. But why wouldn't you simply just take the total operation and maintenance cost, divide by the number of units, to come out with one price, and that would be in the interest of fairness?
Thank you. Yeah, and we will be reviewing the budget today, so we will be able to touch base on how the assessments are broken down for lot size, as well as touch on some of the private water coming up. Back to you, Bo.
No comments?
Any other public comments? Hearing none?
That's great. You're gonna be heard. You want to tell us everyone what's going on? Bill?
Bill? You want mic or you podium?
Yeah.
Okay.
Morning. So as you know, we've had some rain. It's only gonna delay us a little. We were only here days yesterday because of the rain, and then even more rain came. So I don't see us even going any places today. We are going to CBD area stuff. As far as some of the projects we've been working on, the pool saw is done. So that should start looking better once that catches. We'll be able to know it's probably 2-3 weeks. We've been working on up here, along Legacy. I'm sure you've seen the new flowers growing in. They were working on the last bed before I came to see. week, so that should be done today. And there's a couple of other ones we cut down the deadline for yesterday, so that got there in case anyone was concerned, they'll have one out. And the next one that we're gonna be starting this week, whether permitted, is over in phase 7, there is a, little refresh for review on one of the walkways. We fell scrubs that we're gonna repair and, remove and replace. As far as mowing goes, hopefully we can get it to, the whole community by the end of the week. One expected today, so, detailing, we are trimming the main head row that goes down in the boulevard. It should finish by the end of the week. I think that's all that pertains to the CBD.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Juniper before we get into Ken Walter's report?
Bill, just like to thank Bill and his staff and Chris, of course, for the emergency repair the other day. It's getting to be that it's really, really a community, and we have one of these emergencies. The one the other day was a valve box that had to be repaired. We've got a lot of trees in this community, and unfortunately, when they planted a lot of these valves and boxes and relays, they forgot that trees grow up. And the trees grew up and started breaking these things. How do you put a valve box 3 inches from a tree? I don't know. And that tree is now almost 2 feet wide, and that valve box is now in 20 pieces. So I thank you guys for coming out and taking care of that. So Juniper does a lot of good work. I know we get a lot of good things, but when they do something, we need to be acknowledged for doing that. Thank you guys. Kenny?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Not only am I on the CDD, I'm also the chair of the Joint Landscape Committee for Heragile. And one of the things I like to do is share some of the highlights when we have these meetings and things that we're working on and the performance that we're getting out of Juniper. So our last meeting was on 15 August, and overall, Juniper has improved performance. The new leadership, Bill, Ben, and also Chris, they've been instrumental with refocusing our landscape services here at Heritage Island. Compared to last year at this time, we've seen a noticeable improvement across the board. And we've had no major irrigation drops. When I mean irrigation drops, I mean we lose a whole line of houses or a whole stretch of property on Legacy. Yes, we have the occasional emergencies with some line breaks and whatnot, but right now, it's my opinion that we have a better control over that process right now with our irrigation. We are still using timers. We still have some deployed. Some on CDD property, and I think we still have a couple on the clubhouse. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct.
Okay. With the heavy rains, just like Bill said, they made schedule adjustments with the mowing crews. They've been able to keep pace with the demand, and of course, we're trying to avoid ruts. Ruts are big. They've been able to augment their workforce to keep up with the summer demand. It's critical that, or any landscaper we have in here, they have to realize that in the summer months, they have to add people to their workforce to keep up with the demand. I mean, the grass grows like 1 inch a day almost in here in the summer. Weeds twice as fast. So that's a process that we have to really address with the next contract that we have. And we actually included language to that effect in the RFP. However, there is always room for improvement. Supervision and quality assurance cannot be stressed any stronger. And we expect Juniper to quality assure their work. It's absolutely critical to ensure our properties look sharp. General landscaping and irrigation. The backyards must be checked, just as the front yards get checked, to ensure that all detail, including rubellini pruning, mowing services, are consistently delivered throughout Heritage Island. This is an area that we need to improve. They need to take more accountability for the backyards of the properties. Also, during the course of Leland's contract management oversight responsibilities, Kaylee is now conducting weekly property inspections. These inspections occur shortly after the property receives scheduled landscape services from Juniper. These inspections are considered to be accountable actions. As such, effective immediately, these reports will be managed via Juniper Sync, so they can be tracked, requiring resolution from Juniper. So that process now is in place. So if you see Kaylee out there doing inspections, you'll know what that's all about. Certainly, certain maintenance and enhancement projects were taking too long to complete. These include sod replacement, legacy annuals, bullnose refreshes, clubhouse refreshes, and other common efforts. Juniper stepped up. They now are refocusing assets on these projects that we need to get done. They're finishing up from the clubhouse. The annuals now are finished, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're making progress there. We have a mini refresh in phase 7 where we have some dead shrubs. That's scheduled for tomorrow. So now that they have enough people to keep up with the pace. Additionally, there's been some, not confusion, but some discussion about when do we put the pumps idle? Every leak or every irrigation head doesn't mean that we put the pumps in an idle status, because when they go idle, guess what? There's no irrigation. So we have to make sure it's a true emergency to turn off the pumps. There's an irrigation head that is broke, they'll get fixed the next day, but we don't turn off the pumps because it's servicing the whole property. Now, if we got a 3-inch line that's broke, or a main line, or we've lost a whole area because of, a major problem, then yeah, we'll have to put the pumps in idle. They never go off because we have the backflush process we have to keep online. So we now have a written protocol for that as policy for when the pumps will actually go idle. Weed mitigation is ongoing. Additional applications of Fusilade and SureGuard are scheduled. Finding herbicides are important processes within the weed mitigation actions that Juniper is doing. One thing I'm pleased to see is we are communicating very well to the community when it comes to landscape schedule changes or irrigation updates. That way the homeowners know what's going on. Juniper will be checking hardwood trees on homeowner lots for limbs that are contacting the homes. They'll use the 12-foot pole saw it pruned appropriately. Any limbs higher than 12 feet will require a work order. Common area hardwoods on Legacy Boulevard are to be pruned when the limbs are lower than 15 feet. And over the sidewalks, they can't be lower than 8 feet. And I know that Bill's working on a schedule for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. One thing of note, for work orders, as of the report, there was only 30 work orders that were in excess of 10 days overdue, which is a pretty good accomplishment for them. We've had months where it was 100. And just for your note, our annual mulch project is scheduled to commence next month. Juniper is working on the consolidated schedule for the homeowner lots, the CED, common areas in the clubhouse. As soon as that schedule is available, we will be sending out an e-blast to the community, letting you know what the path of motion will be. And one thing this year, which is good, we don't have any mulch to remove. We did that last year. So that's the update from the Joint Landscape Committee. I did notice in the HIDA package, they're looking for a volunteer from the CDD to participate with the Gates and Roads Committee with the issue dealing with sidewalk safety. So I don't know if they've reached out formally, but I did see it in their package. So just so you know, they're looking for somebody from us to participate in their roads and gates. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the more specific CDD issues here. CDD detailing, all Legacy Boulevard plant beds have been weeded with both spraying and manual pulling. The Wickham Boulevard plant beds have been fully de-weeded and cleaned up. Parts 1 through 4 have been completely de-weeded, and parts 5 and 8 are underway. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Other maintenance, Legacy Boulevard annual plants in the median were removed, and now they're finishing up the last bed on Legacy Boulevard with the annuals.
Yeah, just a minute, quick, before you go on, which brought that up, why the plants so small? They got like a sign or?
Yeah, they're gonna grow. We don't put them in fully mature. They're gonna grow.
Sorry.
That's the size. They are, but again, Bob, they'll grow.
You guys all heard that.
Right? Also, we've got two new projects we're gonna be doing. We've got some oak trees we're gonna be putting in Park 4 that were never replaced after a hurricane many years ago. And these are gonna be, by the sidewalk and by the bench area. The other thing is, we've got some, viburnum that died behind Sansone. There's 10 of them that died, so we're gonna be pulling them out and replacing them. They're kind of hidden, they're all the way in the backside and the west side of the property. Irrigation on 4 August, lightning struck one of the controls in phase 7. This required replacement. We expect to submit a casualty claim with our insurance company because the cost of the controller is $10,000 and our deductible is $2,500. So Brian's working on that. And that's it as far as things I have for Juniper. Unless there's any other question from the board for Juniper, you guys can go back to work.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think we got one question for landscape.
Have you found out if there's irrigation on the end of the pond on between Camberley and Balboa? Where we recently put some plantings in. I know we didn't put any in the middle, and I know I walked over there, I couldn't find any irrigation heads. And so there's a possibility that there aren't any there.
Right.
Is there a way to find that out?
Yeah, we can have Chris take a look.
Thank you.
That's why I left bed and put where they were, because that's getting irrigation.
That was my point.
Right.
Actually, was
Yes.
to explain why there was nothing planted in the middle, there's no irrigation there, I don't believe at this point.
Anything else for Juniper?
No. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good day.
Thanks for the comment, 22nd, I've gone over to everybody's mind, that we do have a contract with Hoover for the pump. So we have any problems are always covered. And the pumps can't be turned off remotely. So you don't
Put it in idle.
Hold it.
Right.
And if the residents have any problems, don't be afraid to call in. We tell you, we're gonna fix it, we're gonna try. Brian cannot always answer you immediately. He works for 10 CDDs. That's why our bill can get is much lower than it is for high bill, which needs full-time coverage. So please bear that in mind. I get a lot of complaints and calls, and he doesn't answer right away. That's some issues. But he does get it, he's on top of it, and they do have staff and our services for us. So keep your complaints, keep calling, just leave the alligators alone. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, wanted to go over where we are with the phase 3 irrigation overhaul. Update everybody where we're at. So,
Board members, you have a packet.
yeah, there's the packet. This is a teaming effort with HIDA. Because the irrigation agreement basically has 2 ownerships for irrigation here. The HIDA owns the homeowner properties, the CD owns the common area properties. So we're working very closely with HIDA on this, since they're the majority of the irrigation anyway. But last meeting, the board approved release of the CDD RFP, which was vetted through our lawyer, Wes Haber. And basically what that is a replica of what the HIDA statement of work is, except we're going to have to issue a separate contract for the common area piece. And it includes a simplified construction agreement, which is a necessity when you're doing work on public property. And that's what this is all about. So that was already approved. So where are we? We basically have 4 vendors in the running for this who are now providing their proposal in response to our RFP. We expect to get their inputs back by Friday. This week. When that occurs, we have members from the Joint Landscape Committee, myself and Leland and Brian, will be sitting down and using a score sheet to evaluate the proposal that we received from them. So we can actually have some kind of a method for the madness to figure out which is the best solution for Heritage Isle. Remember, it's gonna be one vendor with 2 contracts with the same statement of work. Now, for the CDD, timing is an issue with this. Since there is no CDD meeting in September, it is recommended that the board give authority to Brian and myself to conduct the proposal evaluation in conjunction with the HIFE and present the award recommendation to the chair for approval. Then the board will ratify the award during the October meeting in 2025. Now, the good news is the estimated CDD award amount should be around, I'm saying guesstimating about $35,000. Just for the common area piece in phase 3. However, we have sweep money in this year's budget to cover that. So if we make the award before 1 October, we'll have sufficient funds now as we close out the fiscal year. Because our fiscal year ends on 30 September. The HOA fiscal year ends on 31 December. We're on a fiscal year, they're on a calendar year.
Do we know when items,
Probably, the goal is for the recommendation to go to the HIDA board at the September 24th meeting.
Okay,
Okay? And at that time,
do you need us to make a motion to have that money available for you and give you the discretion to make that?
yes,
So we'll make a motion later with all the supervisors approving that.
yes,
That'll work.
that'll work. Right,
Because I think the supervisors should already be involved in this.
I agree.
And can you tell us, what are the 4 companies that are bidding, who they are?
Yes,
Why don't we do that when we make a motion later, John?
All right,
And the stuff, okay.
yeah, but that's kind of the tail of the tape here.
We'll do that when we get into the business. We'll make that motion, we'll give us 4 people, which one we think to decide on. And if and when how you do the same thing, it'll be approved, and they can approve it at their meeting and go forward. The reason we have to have 2 of these is we're a government organization and we can't go under the HIDA rules, so therefore they're exactly the same, but we have to put them out under our name.
Right.
So there should be no discrepancy once they're done. It's gonna be exactly the same. That's a lot cheaper price than we got before.
Right, so because of the zones. No,
That's why those bids get multiple bids.
so we got 183 zones in here. The bulk of those are owned by the homeowner lots. So we'll just have to see when the proposals come in, see if there's, any adjustments, because remember, that's their pay, that's their baffle, the best award. Okay, price is what we're looking for here. I'm sure they sharpened up their pencils because we had an RFI that went out asking them to give us an estimate. So we had some estimates kind of all over the ballpark here. One really good price and a couple were really high. So we're hoping to sharpen their pencils so we can get better competition on the price. And during the time frame that we are reviewing the proposals and getting more information on how we're going to be grading and evaluating these guys, we will send a report to the board. We'll keep seeing the board up to date where we are with that. So there should be no questions about it.
Our rating system ever been published? We do that for all the vendors.
Yeah, any RFP that you've done in the past, in the final agenda on the website should be housed, the voting that went along with.
When do we send out the report, we get that on it, so
Of the award letter.
the RFP, so they know how we're grading. We bring every new vendor, every old vendor. There's some prices, availability, or sensibility, and actually cheaper than jobs in the past.
So any questions so far? That's pretty much the end of my reports.
Is there any questions to me, supervisor, go here?
Right, that's what I'm asking. John? Good?
No, I have no question.
Joe? You good? Bob?
Office and labor.
You wanna go over this later in the
I
evening?
want to move on this, and ask the ability to approve it if we have a meeting. And how it does do exemption.
Right.
We don't have to lose any time.
Yeah, so, because this won't come up again on the agenda, I would, most likely it's beneficial to take a motion now to give.
Okay, so I move that when the bids are in, we give Ken Walters the authority to go up to, say, $50,000, because
I'd say 40.
45.
45, maybe 45.
$45,000, using his discretion on which one is the best, of the four. We pretty much know there's only one other company involved, and I think that's the best one. We don't need people who do plants doing our water system.
Right.
We do water people that we were able to get a bid for somebody who does that kind of work, only does not do anything else. So I'll make a motion that we go up to $45,000. And that we use discretion, Kevin Walters, if and when highly approves the same thing.
Do I have a second to that motion?
John second.
John? Second by John.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Good.
Thank you, Ken.
Great work.
That's it.
Now my favorite subject for Hans.
Got Mickey.
Would you come on and tell us what's going on, that you guys have done it and not done it? And mind you, I know all about it because I was there the original time we got the extra country. I walked around the continent, and somebody else said, oh, that was you? Good, I'm glad to hear it. Tell us what's going on, make complaints to me, talk about that, okay? Is that you're not getting enough, I'll just use the word weeds, I know they have different names. It's been raining an awful lot, so I don't know, we're getting buried under the water, so it kind of looks pretty good right now. But as soon as it starts drying out, it's going to get out there again. So when we get dry was pretty good this time, expensive. Okay, so we're looking for a better way of doing it. I know we can, take it and, we can start putting some poison or whatever word you want to use on top, but that takes forever to go down and actually work. I was told that we can bid it out when we gave you guys the contract. I never saw that happen. But everything else you guys have been doing, it's been really a great job. But that's what I constantly hear now. Thanks to the ratings, I have been hearing about it. But I've got one right back of my house, so there's no way I'm gonna get away from this because I can see it every day. So if you tell us what you can do for the tree, and once the water goes down, okay, and the rains seem to go over, and how we can actually start satisfying.
Absolutely.
So I'm, John from Virginia, and one of the things that, I get the most complaints about is gonna be the soft stem, which is, native beneficial to plants. So if you look out in the water, it's got a little bit taller grass. Over time, I've actually been, pushing it back quite a bit, but I do in very small quantities. The reason being is that we go in and just really try to kill it all. That stuff will stay around for about 3 or 4 months, and then it's also going to cause a huge algae spike by that deterioration. One of the other complaints I get a lot is the eelgress. So when you're looking at a pond, you see those mats of floating plant material that's out there. Unfortunately, at this time, we are not contracted to actually treat them. With that being said, we can always provide estimates for that. But there's a lot of drawbacks when you start changing a lot of things in the water. And like anybody's had an aquarium, and you change one little thing in it, you kind of change the whole system over. So eelgrass is a huge benefit. And one of the things that we can suggest if some people aren't necessarily, liking the way that it looks is earlier in the season, we can always provide a quote to kind of push some of it back. What I would say is if we try to do a total elimination, There's gonna be some other steps that I would recommend for that. One, eelgrass produces a lot of oxygen from the water and also takes up a lot of nutrients. On there, I think it's directly the street name, it was on 3 and 5, it's the one directly across from the clubhouse, the one just south of it. Those probably have the worst amount of visible eelgrass. That's also because that has a little bit higher littoral shelf, so it's a little shallow there, so it really tops up there. Eelgrass is also can be very difficult to actually eradicate in essence, which becomes very expensive to try to do. But one of the best tactics for that is to actually kind of get earlier on in the season to push it back on. Right now, of course, we can thin some out, but what ends up happening, right, as soon as we go to kill this or try to, thin it out some, all of that's gonna lift up to the surface, it's gonna float all over the pond, and we're gonna have a huge algae spike. I mean, it's gonna potentially turn the whole pond. One of the other things, there's a big difference between algae and cyanobacteria. So sometimes, have anybody ever heard like blue green algae? They're not all of them bad, but some of them, are a little bit more difficult to get rid of. Now, some of them, if we treat too hard, they also can cause a little bit of oxygen depletion to the water. So it's a really tricky subject. It's not just doing money spraying everything, treating everything, killing it all, making them look like swimming pools. Everything kind of has to be done in phases. As far as, like I said, the soften, there is options, but I mean, if you guys really wanted to thin it out really heavy, we could give you herbicide treatment costs to come in and really hit it all at once. Because know that those plants are going to be around for, X amount of time, 4 months. Then even from that, they're going to deteriorate, break down, they're going to be floating for probably another month or two.
If we go in that direction, it will be guaranteed that they'll be at the level we want to do the settings.
Yes, so then it'll be easier to control too. I mean, technically, I don't recommend it at all, but you could technically go total elimination. I do not recommend that whatsoever. And but it's totally up to you guys. So I know that one of the meetings we discussed with the county, they don't have any permits for coral shelves. Same thing with St. John's River Water Management District. I reached out to them, so you guys actually do not have a permit to retain them there. But again, they are a huge benefit to the pond systems, and if done correctly, like there's many options. Like one of my suggestions is to go pond by pond, right? Take one pond, maybe the one that has the most, and start treating it. Get a plan together, give you guys a quote, and really start hammering down and meeting certain patches. There's somebody that doesn't want to buy a house, let us know which one it is, and we can fit it out heavier in those areas. I do heavily recommend this stuff. One, you guys do have a lot of wonderful wildlife here, a lot of birds, you see all the baby birds in the ponds. They require what that is about. But that's up to you guys.
I'll tell you what we have to understand as for your venture. Most of the people that bought that on the water, including myself, never had anything there to look at.
Yeah.
And now it's matured and it's grown up.
Yeah.
And the stories with you, your stems are horrible. I know it's protected, I know all of that kind of stuff. That's not much job I had as something. Okay, so we may go back to what we originally tried, which you brought up, especially after the rainy season, the hurricane season is over and it work. Maybe individually doing it again, but you're gonna have to come up with a better price than the first time.
Yeah. I mean, there's different options for
And
it.
kind of getting a hard time, and not pretty help that.
Well, if you go with the manual removal, that's a lot of labor involved, a lot of removal, so that's time consuming, and it takes that's a lot of effort. The chemical treatment, on the other hand, is actually killing it off, is going to be, I can't tell you prices we think up to that one, but it will be a, much lower cost than the physical version. The downside is that you're gonna be looking at those brown.
So that's about a 4-month project for that couple.
Yeah, it'll probably be approximately 4 months, and usually what happens is if the aquatic plants, like soft and you're gonna spray it, it's all gonna turn back brown. It doesn't mean that it's dead or anything. Usually what it does is it forces new growth out of the common state, so then it's just continual spraying. Over time, it begins to will actually kill the plant.
What time are we talking about it regrowing again.
You usually see new growth by the next month, but it's gonna, you know, we're here every month too, so anything that's sprayed will just be sprayed again.
So that would be your repeat process every 2 years.
No, it'll just be maintained as it is.
Okay.
I mean, to honestly tell you the truth, if it's not there, it's much easier for me to paint one. I mean, it really is, but the benefits that they actually brought on.
Okay. Thank you.
Real quick, so we had a proposal from y'all to groom the soft center run. Is that what you proposed, or is there something?
That was for manual, if you actually put it forward, moving, the chemical treatment will be here.
So most likely more cost effective as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Something
that was for them coming in with trucks and the way that we can do it.
Yeah, it's like I said,
That's why the sales traffic.
and it's hard to see, but I actually do have them treated sections piece by piece.
I just don't want to get one weather.
Yeah, that's, I mean, even at the front pond, at the front entrance, today, you know, I wouldn't even discuss anything before that, didn't have, but even about 40% of what's up front of the front main roads is not there. It's the whole front section could be treated.
Okay.
So at least if you're driving on the main road, you can see it's that. Now, one of the discussions I did have is a lot of, you know, it's only that 50/50 where some people don't want, some people don't, you know, want it there.
I don't know anybody who wants to do that.
It looks like, okay.
I have not met anyone that told me it's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's, well, I mean, there's, I could get, you know, I don't want to sell anybody out, or, but I get stopped at least 20 or 30 times from spray.
Thank you for telling us all that. We had to sit down and make things for it, and then get some input from the residents. To be, they're both good options, but, cost is going to be involved in that, be a good thing. Hopefully, everybody understands and decide that if we go the cheaper way, it'll be ugly for a while, but it's going to do the job. We go the expensive way, it's not going to be ugly. So we'll figure that one out. I thank you for everything else that you guys do out there. You do a great job out there. Then you hired you. Well, we got something about this, let me call it the view from the house.
Yeah, just a quick, to touch real quick on the seasonality, you know, this month and next month are gonna be the most prolific times for growth in the aquatic. It's similar to even ground summer, but aquatic, you know, July and September are notoriously the worst. It's gonna be the hottest. We're gonna get a lot of rain. We get a lot of rain in the ponds. Everything in the community, there's, you know, fertilizers, fungicides, everything ends up into the ponds. And that kind of wrecks a little bit of havoc on the natural cycles of things. You'll also see that you maybe get a lot of weed real quick. I try to time my visits here. If it's raining, I can't treat. So obviously I try not to treat the days that are going to be rainy. There's still gonna be, it's Florida, we get those little thunderstorms here and there. If it does rain after treatment, I usually still try to come back and at least touch those up. But it's a, you know, most of the stuff we use is herbicides, so they are, you know, chemical treatments. If we get a good rain, it washes it off. So again, one of the things I do is, I'll come back and just quickly treat the lawns. We need about an hour set time. It's a little bit different between landscaping and aquatic, so it's hard to take that too much time, but on the aquatic side, we have these very specific herbicides. Everything has to be approved for aquatic use. They're a lot safer than most, you know, ground type products. Anything that goes in the ponds, you know, has to be 100% what it is. So that means too, a lot of we also have to use other additives to help stick it to the plants or, you know, combat the rains. But yeah, so it's a bit of a tough time of the year for the aquatic side. But one big thing I always say is if you see me out there riding around, don't get ready to stop and ask any questions, we'll talk and explain things.
If you could explain, like, our next meeting's in October,
October 25th.
if you could plan to give us prices on doing it both ways. And also, if we get individuals, going to be kind of tougher, but give us a ballpark of what individuals might process, and that's going to be a stretch, because it might be a lot, it might be a little.
Yeah.
And if we can have that in our next meeting, maybe we can discuss it again, but we're gonna have to make a decision about this pretty soon. Okay, thank you for coming today.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Real quick. I just want to know if you service any other communities in the area that are as old as We are. And if they have the same issue that we're having.
Some, I don't personally service any of them, so I don't do. There's a few. Okay, yeah, I don't personally treat some of the other ones, so I don't know that they might be able to explain it a little.
You would know them?
But it's, yes, ma'am. But what I can say is universally across the board, this is actually one of the, for what the stuff that I do is one of the nicest looking ones current. Right now, it's just active growth, which is that time of year. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Nick Ellison from Dr. Checks. To answer your question, ma'am, for many of the communities we service in our county are this age or even older. And this time of year, as John mentioned, everybody has the same issues. So, the shower looks, the hotter it is, algae comes back in 48 hours. We were here 3 days ago and then boom, there it is. So, fortunately, winter's coming and it'll be a lot nicer. With regard to the soft stem, the beneficial plants, the fish and the frogs and the snakes have to have a place to hide. So that's what it's considered beneficial for the whole ecosystem. Did I answer the question, ma'am?
Could you name one of the communities?
St. Meadows,
Okay.
Wickham. Now that you asked me, have fun.
Sorry.
But, Titusville has lots of older communities, really older communities that we service. So does, Rockledge, which is the oldest community in the farm. So many of those communities are far older than this, and this looks fantastic for being.
Okay, thank you.
Is it actually once hired by the government?
That's a question.
In the beginning, so, yeah.
It's free bond.
That's why they do yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
There was just one more.
Got another question down here? Stand up so we can see it.
Down at all. And then on the public side, it's funding, land based stuff, so all of the things that we have, or most of them are actually for cattle ranking systems, no one's ever gonna say that you drink is students. Now, the one thing that I always tell people is chemicals, are chemicals. But as far as the products that we use, that we know no side effects, we know the impact of birds, frogs. Amphibians are gonna be the worst ones to be affected by most of the chemicals. And anything that would even remotely do that, people in the market, we can't use it. The aquatic side is one of the downsides of too, is we have a very small pool of things that we can rely on to use because of that. Land-based stuff is really, I'm not going to anything, but land-based stuff is a lot more usually. And what I'd say is environmentally unfriendly with the aquatic side. Like we all have to have pretty hard to get licensing and certifications and all of these things. So they're very safe.
Thank you, we got a long time. You guys can say your thoughts, and what we do if you want.
Yeah, there, guys, thank you for coming.
All right, going on, anything now I have seen?
No, Ken really touched on, Wes and I have been working with Ken and Brian on the irrigation agreement in the
Nothing you
RFP.
disagree with them there or anything? we should
No,
account for?
not at all. I think
The only thing I always like in these things, that nobody gonna be able to do is to perform and stand into it. You don't get done until you owe us money. Nobody wants to say that. It's time.
Yeah.
Just to refresh the board, in 2022, we had an irrigation agreement between the entities, which is the terraces, the CDD, the hydrant, and also the HERB. Well, with HIDA assuming all of HERB's responsibilities, liabilities, we have to have an amendment to the existing agreement, which we don't have to rewrite the whole thing. We'll memorialize the existing agreement, but we'll update it with the amendment. That's kind of what we're doing, right?
That is what we're doing, correct.
Right.
Wes and I have been working on that as well as the RFP issues with, as I said, Ken and Brian. So happy to answer the questions, but, Ken really has touched on the big issues since the last meeting.
I got one.
Thank you.
Kind of like, I just been bringing up to our board meetings, the annual goals that, are coming up due, I think, in December. The board last year, for legislation adopted financial and operational goals. Been working with Kyle, Wes, and a couple of other members from QTAC, putting a report together that we will submit later on in December, to whomever. You know,
Correct, and that's just kind of the district's report card from the goals that were last year. That just needs to be submitted to the state. But that's new requirement. I think this is the first year that that report card is actually getting submitted, but those goals have already been approved by the board, and I think we're on track for that.
We have different members of this board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hannah?
I don't have anything specific for you, although I will talk to you about the reuse system and those pumps a little bit. So last meeting, what I did is we have package of the reuse mains, which are the main lines, the irrigation lines that run on the roadways, not serving the particular houses, but the main chase lines. And so they've been broken into several phases, because that's how the community was constructed. We took that and made one overall exhibit. Actually gave that to Chris when he left today. There's one section, Ken, if you remember, we tried to close that valve, exercising the valve and disconnecting the system. There's one spot on the backside of that pond that technically shouldn't be interconnected, but who knows what they do when they, go out there and actually construct that. So I asked Chris if he would take a look at that on the backside of that pond opposite of the pump. I spoke with Nathan at Hoover Pumps. He's on board to conduct another, call it exercise experiment and running the system. And I asked him to consider, and he agreed to do a longer testing window. Last time when we did it, we got sort of an immediate response that there was no change to the system, which doesn't really make any sense, to be quite honest. And so I think we'll conduct a longer window and let Chris know that if we want to be able to do that in the next couple of weeks and to check his schedule, let me know what works best with the irrigation system out here for the community, what makes sense there. And Nathan said that he can provide us those resources to do that. So Ken, I'll be sure to coordinate that date and time option with you as well and provide a couple of choices. I know everyone's got different schedules, but getting that on the books so we can get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The other big thing we're working on is the bridges.
Yeah, and
That's not, it's Brian and I trying to do that, really waiting for the bridges. Otherwise, we're never gonna get anything done if we come up here and change over the water and do everything else. So that's probably pushed back to October, but all our bridges are in pretty bad shape, so I'm sure all of you know that. I just want you to know we are working. It's gonna be an expensive item, so we think somebody to in next year's budget. But they have to be fixed, they're already down, and we said, we're not gonna do it anymore. We're gonna do it in concert, that's longer. Prices of profit has gone down, prices of oil has gone up, so we're not that far apart anymore. Okay. District manager, we got one here?
We do. He's here. All right, board, behind tab 2, first item on my tab here is the presentation of the vacant board seat applicants. Would you like to make any announcements before we go through?
I'll let you do that, that's fine.
Okay.
I just want everyone in this board to keep an open mind and listen to what everybody has to say that's looking for an appointment to the open seat that Jimmy Williamson is going over here. Based on merit, based on experience, based on what they can answer this board. And I think we will have to do additional 4 candidates resumes everybody here has. They all look fantastic. It's going to be a tough decision, but that's what we're here for, to be tough decisions.
Yes, so at this time, we have 4 applicants that have applied for the vacant board seats. We are going to call them one at a time based on when the application was submitted. We will invite Al Rose to speak to the board on your interest with the board.
Board notice in order of receipt of their application. I don't know if you said that right.
I think we did.
Good morning, Al. Good morning. Sometimes I don't have to get first. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Al Rose. I live on Campbell Circle. My wife and I have come back home about 11.5 years. And previous to that, we had a villa on Amberley. And we had that for almost 3 years. So we're
over 14 years in the community, so we have a pretty decent idea of what's going on. So that, as you all talked about already, the CPD, their job is, your job is pretty simple, to maintain, repair, potentially improve the infrastructure that you're responsible for, which is actually rather vast. So what I would like to, is I would like to expound on some of my experiences and where I think I could be a good addition to the board based on those experiences. I trust you read my CV and my statement. So I would like to say, for those of you who know me, you know I like to talk a lot. So I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. So for y'all to perform these projects need to be initiated, pretty simple, because you don't have your own workers to do things. And certainly on occasion, some of the smaller stuff, you can give the university or a contract with them. You mentioned earlier that Hoover, you're under contract with Hoover, again, pumps and things like that. So that's very good. Nonetheless, you mentioned the bridge, for example, that's gonna be a big project. And so you're gonna have to generate an RFP or request for a proposal for those who don't know what they're doing. And with that, time have to come specifications, the scope of the job and how you want it done, things like that. And then when you get a package, as Kim mentioned, you have to review it. You have to figure out if you have 3, 4, 5 bids, which one's the best bid. And with that comes cost estimates and that means scope and things. My experience over almost my entire career in about 43 years involves a lot of that. I have, not only do I have project management, more importantly, I've written RFPs. I've been part of a team to write RFPs, working with the space and know how the contracts are continually turning over. So I've been part of some of that. I've also worked with certifications. As an example, NASA has a thing called specs and gaps, the government actually specifications. And I was tasked years ago with reviewing and revising over 200 of those specifications. And with respect to cost estimates, I have literally done hundreds, if not over 1,000 cost estimates in my career, both on the generating cost estimate side and on the reviewing cost estimate side. For a couple of examples, on the generating side, I had to do a cost estimate. It was a small one, but I had to do a cost estimate on fire that took place in a golf course irrigation field. Cost estimate was about $50,000, not a whole lot. Okay. The largest one I did was for a copper smelter up in Canada, it's Secretary, and that one came to $250 million. That was a huge cost estimate because that particular copper smelter blew a tap hole, and all of the stuff inside the smelter was about 300 feet by 75 feet. Spewing out. And it's all molten copper and slag and all that. They just destroyed everything. They had to do a complete rebuild. Now on the reviewing side, a lot of the work I did over the last 17 years had to do with insurance companies. And those insurance companies will make a claim. The claimant or the company that's making the claim is going to ask for X amount of dollars. And so they need to verify, is this the right number? And so we were tasked to look at all of those numbers, to actually do estimates or to review what they've done to figure out, was the estimate in line, was the cost appropriate, was the scope appropriate, what's the likely time? Because in a lot of instances, the insurer would maybe, I'm going to use this analogy, might not be a good one, but they might have had a Volkswagen Rabbit, but they were asking for a Cadillac Eldorado. And the insurance company would say, no, you can't have that. You can't upgrade. You have to pay for the upgrade. We'll give you the money that it's going to cost to restore you back to where you were. So we did a lot of that kind of estimating, using different estimating tools, like, for example, RSMeans and things like that. I spoke with contractors all the time to get, hourly rates, loaded hourly rates to find out what's really gonna cost. I would get bids from contractors. On one job, we had to replace 22 substations and, all indoor substations. And so I went to Eaton and with where you got to probably heard of both of those companies. And I got hard copy bids on how much it was gonna cost, including shipping to get that. So I have a significant experience in those areas that you need, and you would probably appreciate that. Number two, while I'm an electrical engineer, I do have a PE, although I'm retired, so now when I sign my name, I can sign my name, hours, PE, parentheses, RT, for retired. I also have experience in the mechanical world and some in the civil world, because working in the forensic world, like I did the last 17 years, a lot of time involved teams, and a lot of time involved having to look at how there's interactions between electrical, mechanical, electrical, civil, things like that. So I have experience in bridges. I have experience in pumps and motors. I have some experience in diesel engines. A diesel engine is a mechanical device, yet I was approved by a judge to be an expert and testify in that regard. So I've been very blessed to have a very large amount of experience that I can pull on. And I'm also very familiar with a lot of the active codes that have to do with restoration, new construction, things like that. And for example, I'm very familiar with NFPA 1 and NFPA 72. NFPA stands for the National Fire Protection Agency. Because those two, and I mentioned that because those two are actually applicable in this building right now. That's the reason we're not open like we normally are. Because the fire alarm system, which is an addressable system, is not fully functional. And so those codes require fire watches if they're not. And that costs a lot of money. And so as a result, Leland has decided not to be open, so we can't go to the jail system in the morning and things like that. And that's all because we're familiar with those. Also familiar with, I believe both national and Florida legal codes, code, city code, and all those kinds of things. Number three, I've been blessed to work with a lot of attorneys in the last 17 years. And let me just say that I know attorneys are always on for being, the job that everyone is in insurance companies and attorneys are the two ones who get paid on all the time. I would say 90%, maybe even 95% of the attorneys I worked with, great folks, no problems. But most of them was liability, whether it was on the plaintiff side or the defense side. And so I understand liability probably more than I ever wanted to. When it comes to personal liability, construction liability, product liability, I understand every state is different. In Florida, we have the statute of repose in Florida is 10 years for construction defect. And after that, you can't sue them, and those kinds of things. So we understand that. And as their expert, I was instrumental in many positive outcomes for my clients, including settlements. Sometimes, obviously, most people, you don't go to court. While I have testified in court, generally you don't go to court, but you get the settlements on that. And so the attorneys I was consulting with and myself and maybe other experts would get together and we would hammer out what's a fair number to settle this claim. So I had that experience. And finally, I promised to be brief. Finally, I learned how to listen. Maybe people would show sometimes, but I learned how to listen. Because in my previous life, my last company, engineering design and testing, I was on the board of directors. For 2 years, I was chief. I went through a very tough time. And I learned that you have to keep an open mind all the time. You have to be able to listen to what other people are saying, understand their position, and then be able to discuss it so that you can come to some kind of agreement and consensus. Because the goal in the last report I looked at was to make sure that we make the right decisions for the company. Not one or two individuals that work at the company, not the CEO of the company, the company as a whole. And that's the CED's job, doing the same thing for the community, not for a few people in the community, not for another board in the community, for the community as a whole. Anyway, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to discuss this, and now I would ask, do you all have any questions?
Thank you, Al.
I have
Got a question?
you said you're recently retired, correct?
Yes,
So you, when did you retire?
I retired, my last official day was July 21st of 2023. Not that I remember.
Well, I remember when the clubhouse was closed, I believe that it was a shame that I don't think you were asked for your expertise in the reconstruction of this clubhouse, because that was your forte of forensic reconstruction, correct?
So I was a little disappointed I tried, but
I remember that. The other, there are many ways to serve the community,
yes.
and we have the district, which has had openings on that board that you have not put your name in for. So I would be curious as to why you feel that you would serve this board more than you would be able to serve, let's say, the district board, which has the contracts committee and the roads and gates. And it seems like everything you said, you would be a great fit for many areas to help in this community.
Well, thank you for that. Well, a couple of reasons, actually. One is, when I retired in 23, my wife and I had rather ambitious travel goals. And part of that, those travel goals was we were going to be gone for quite a bit. So it didn't make sense the first year or so we retired. Now that that's kind of done, things are going back down again. We have started trying to make a difference, and not necessarily, from a board standpoint, but we started volunteering more and doing different things for the community and for, people. I just started volunteering in the zoo, which has been very fulfilling. But it seemed to me when this opening came, I looked at everything and I thought, the type of infrastructure that you all take care of, the ponds, the bridges, the roads, the lights up and down, legacy and all that, is right in my wheelhouse. And I want to make a difference. I want to keep using the experience and education that I have. And I should add that the education actually is the experience. And I don't want to go out of college and do everything. I didn't know anything. But, to be able to use that, I don't want to go back to work, to work a job. I'd rather do something for the community. And so I decided, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that I was ready to jump into one of the boards. And this was the opening that came up, and when I looked at it, I thought, I could probably do this right here, right now. So that's why.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, John?
Yeah, I do.
Got it?
Yeah, Al, have you ever been a fiduciary?
Have I ever been one?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what
Yeah,
do
2
you,
million is an insurance for being a fiduciary, yes. Yeah, because we were responsible, the company I worked for, we were employee stockman. And so because of that, we were always on the board with fiduciaries. Absolutely. So that's important, it's a good question, because that's very important.
I got the audience answer, when we had the art farm, we couldn't find out in the southern home to rebuild this community. Al volunteered to help the art farm, so we did do it a long time in structurally, otherwise what we should be doing in the community. Personally, this time. But I thank you going back 8 years.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Al, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We want
Did the government say?
Cynthia Barclay. Cynthia Barclay.
Information?
Cynthia, the Colemans are posted on the websites.
Said she did not get it.
Okay. So Cynthia is unavailable to present to the board.
Why don't you just read off,
Sure.
so you know, what she's done?
Yeah, let's take a look. So Cynthia Barclay, public service experience, board service. She was president and director of Everett Metropolitan District Board of Directors, so formal experience on boards. Looks like she was, in association on managing a $7 million annual budgets, consistent over 5,000 properties. We have roughly 1,600. So, experience in managing, a bigger community than we are. She quotes significant matters upon becoming the president in July 2021, following the notice consecutive resignations of 3 directors. She identified and selected, appointed 4 new members, so it looks like she took the bull by the horn there. Named her treasurer. Looks like they did some, so she was associated with research and the procurement of new district management services for her previous board. Goes through settlements, notates committee and task force service. So member where she was tasked with identifying, interviewing, and recommending community management services. Seems to be part of the joint landscape committee.
Yeah, she's a member of the joint landscape.
Okay, so involvement with some of the board members as well. Notates some additional volunteer work. And then her actual resume, for industry experience, Sigma International, Director of Sales, so budget management, looks like management overall for Valley Resorts, hospitality experience with Regis Hotels and Coast Guard Auxiliary. Education is notated and a certificate, educational curriculum for the homeowners association. So it looks like she is certified for HOA matters. I present to you, Cynthia. Any questions?
Collaborative type person.
Yes.
Thank you. Just rather than this, I thank her for her bid for public search.
Okay. At this time, we will invite David Francis.
Gonna read a whole book, Dave. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors.
Good morning.
Morning.
Want to just start off, that any of the applicants for this position that has submitted their names to you, they're all qualified to do so. And I want to personally thank them for volunteering to do so. And Cynthia, Al, and Susan are all qualified for this position. Reason I mean, supervisor that I'm expecting asking O.J. Williams. It created to avoid experience. Jay been here a long time. And you've all read through my resume. I'm going to review it to you with my experience, typically as a businessman all my life, and I served on board of directors in different capacities. The reason that I am here today is for the cooperation and communication that is necessary today between HIDA and the CEA. That's why I'm here, to volunteer to facilitate this important problems that we have now with irrigation and landscaping.
merger with Purple has created and will create a lot of operational efficiencies and streamlining the way this entire association is run. That cooperation and efficiency needs to extend to the CDD. In my current position as president of the High Board, I feel like that my position on the CDD, which is essentially temporary, this is a fill vacancy that expires in November next year, will help facilitate the issues that we have to work together jointly as a team. So that's why I'm here. The communication channels can be improved using Clubhouse here for the meetings, using the higher media communication depth on person benefit us all. Joint fiscal responsibility, you all doing the best you can and doing a great job. So that's why I'm here. I think it's important to understand that my philosophy is that once the board makes a decision, they speak in one voice. And my philosophy is the board's chairman's responsibility is to form consensus building, cooperation with board members, and I applaud what I'm seeing from Vice Chairman BOS in that regard. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm just volunteering my services if the board so decides to choose me. I look forward to working together to solve these issues that we have. Thank you very much. Any questions? No, I can text.
Right, I just have one, I'm understanding what's the vote stating is one voice. If that voice disagrees with the plan, how do we end?
It's a great question. It's a similar situation when you start on the board and serve in the CDD.
So would you be able to just say you're not going to vote in one of those boards because of conflict?
If there's a conflict, which I think you encounter once, you should recuse yourself.
Okay.
Other than that,
And
so
so,
both boards speak in one voice, but we must cooperate with each other. With this irrigation issue is serious. And we just can't throw money in.
we're doing a great job in irrigation, so that's good stuff. Very vital to the community.
I just wanted to jump in. If, speaking of a recusal, you may be able to do that for the HIDA board.
Right.
You cannot do that.
Here you have
So you would have to vote on this board. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, that is a distinction, and I understand.
Great.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you, David. We will invite Susan Zoll.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before I begin to speak about me, I just like to take a minute to say I'm sorry for the circumstance creating such a question to words for the service. My incident is older, lived in her job since 2007. I've owned the house since 2015, and what I like to call the first Section 8, for numerous reasons. I know all of you, and I've worked closely with a few of you over the years, in a few different roles in her job. I did not initially submit a boilerplate resume with my 10-page board, as I didn't believe it was requested, but I see, you can see in my student attachment. I did what I consider to be a more useful summary of my background and experience, as well as answering post questions. I didn't think that my being in the national society in high school or fraternal organizations in college was a particular. As I stated in my intent paperwork, I always felt that incumbent upon me to get involved in helping for the betterment of the community in which I live in life. To that end, in my background, I was elected and served a 4-year term as the director of 107, the local community school board in New York State. Various experiences there, tremendous budgets being managed. I went through a lengthy and in-depth training program and served on voluntary basis as a pediatric grief counselor in my county. I had over 500 plus hours of volunteering at the Viera VA, as well as aiding space because I was unemployed. I put together and sponsored a presentation for her job for our veterans regarding benefits. I offered for your perusal, and hopefully you have a copy of my lengthy list of service in Heritage on. As an elected board member on both the HIDA and HERBA boards, as well as service to the community continuously since transition in 2015 and forward. On a number of standing committees of the HIDA and HERBA boards, for example, the Finance Committee, until recently, the landscape committees, as well as the joint landscape team, very involved with that. Creation of the landscape, ad hoc clubhouse landscape review committee. Just as an FYI, you can see in my backgrounds in finance, private equity, proprietary funds, hedge funds, international trading. And I've also, of course, been as well with my experience with HIDA and HERBA involved, deeply involved in all of the issues that they were concerned with, and HIDA still is. I cannot guarantee to you that I know exactly who owns each tree on the park, or where each sign is placed and who's responsible for it. But I do know how to try, and I do know that problem exists. Uniquely, I had a lengthy and robust knowledge of heritage history, its development, iterations, issues, and happenings. And while some people may not think that heritage history is important, I believe it would be extremely great asset in helping with the work that the city is responsible for. Being an involved and enthusiastic director on a high board for a full term was an extremely rewarding experience. Now that I have been off duty for a while, I feel the position of director on the CDD would be a wonderful opportunity for me to contribute and carry on my community service involvement. I can concentrate all of my energies on only one thing, the CDD. I would just like to say, it's quite an encouraging thing that so many good citizens of Heritage came forward to volunteer their services for our community through this opportunity. Thank you to all of the other candidates. Thank you for the time to speak. I would be most honored and give you with my all if given the opportunity to work with you. Thank you. Any questions?
Any speaking on this question? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, I'm trying to stop.
Yeah, you can turn that on.
I know.
Board members, you've been given a vote sheet. So the way this will go, we will do the first vote. If it is unanimous and we have an awarded applicant, we will move forward. If for some reason we reach a stalemate, we will take another vote to see, based on the first vote, what the leaders were, and then move on to phase 2 and additional voting is required. Does that make
Let
sense?
all the residents know this is going to be estimated, that we always do some secret ballot.
And I will wait for the board if you would like to discuss amongst yourselves before taking a vote, or just put something down, or provide them some details.
I would like to say that I hope that we have this kind of turnout when the election comes up at the end of next year, because this is, like I said, only temporary, and we need people to step up to the plate. That's a 4-year term. Thank you.
Don't jinx it. Good luck to everybody. Thank you for your presentations.
Vote now.
Yes, and then I'll read them in.
I don't come along, but it's what I have to.
Does anybody need another second? Everybody's good? Thank you, Senator. Thank you. All right. Let's bring it in there. All right, so the board has taken their vote, well, not unanimous, I'm sorry, the leading applicant is David Francis with 3 votes. David Francis, congratulations, take a minute to swear him in.
You remember this,
Bring your Bible.
I did,
you remember this time.
yeah.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard. I guess that's a good thing. I think that at the end of December, there are 3 seats open on the district board. I hope that there's enthusiasm for those seats as well.
Where's everybody going? You guys all have behind.
That's what they were all here for.
It's the rest of the break.
All right, so David, you are going to, recite the following, and then you will state your name, go through it, and then I will perform the introduction. We'll just have to do that.
This is still more than enough.
Everybody go. Yeah, let's talk about money. I think they spend when they get cold.
I, David Francis, a citizen of the state of Florida, and a man of the United States of America, and being employed by or an officer of the Heritage Island and Viera Community Development District, and a recipient of public funds. As such, employee or officer, do hereby solemnly swear or affirm I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Florida.
Very good, congratulations. Take a recess at 11:59.
Yeah. Don't stop. Back to the float.
All right, the meeting is back in session, finalizing the district manager report. Board members to your right or left, you do have resolution 2025-08, adopting our meeting schedule for the following fiscal year. This is assuming that we are going to roll over our schedule in time with the updated location to be at the clubhouse, you see there. The only date that you can consider is the November 25th meeting. I think that falls in line with Thanksgiving. Do you want to bump that to the first week of December? I think that's historically what we've done.
Which meeting is that?
So it's technically your November meeting, but because it usually falls in Thanksgiving, we have in the past set it to first or second week of December.
We can do that.
All right.
The first would probably be better.
Let me verify that.
The second week, I think, is close to the annual meeting for the district.
Richard, is it in our tab somewhere, the meeting dates?
Yeah, this is under seven cover. We didn't have a meeting dates.
Some years you skip,
What was that?
some years you skip, and
Yeah.
Yeah, usually you do skip your December meeting.
we could always go to October, whether we want that in November, or not, based on how much we have left to do.
Right.
Well, if you wanted it in
So
November,
we can do Joe's, we'll schedule for December, but in previous years we canceled.
so December 2nd is the proposal? Okay, December 2nd.
I would not remove it. I'd keep it in place.
Exactly, that's what he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
We're moving it to
Decide
side.
on October,
Right.
That's what he's doing. Yeah.
So December 2nd.
Apparently they're not published yet.
Do you have a list of dates like we can say for available for these?
So they're just rolling over the same schedule, with the exception of December.
November would now be December 2nd.
Yeah.
So would you like a motion on that?
Council plans, is brief engineer, reviewing options.
So the first week of December 2nd.
Let's change the motion.
I make a motion that we accept the meeting dates with the amendment to change the November 25th date to December 2nd, the first week of December.
Motion second.
Second.
Who was my second?
All in favor? Any discussion?
Second.
Any discussion?
I,
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
I would say I may need either West or I may need to call it that meeting. That's the second part.
We'll let you know when it's paid.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff,
Yeah.
based on this date.
We normally catch that meeting.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll find coverage if necessary. It may need to call it another meeting in person.
Lastly, you have your website audits, quarterly website audits stating ADA compliance, no further items for district management.
Brian, let me ask you this. Why is this done quarterly?
The quarterly website audit?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any statutes, for this, maybe Kyle could jump in on that, but ideally, this is just to ensure that your website is periodically monitored to ensure that we're meeting the compliance. I think quarterly is appropriate instead of monthly.
What is it? That's the state requirement?
I'm not sure if there's a state law requirement behind it. I can look that up, but I mean, you do need to make sure that your website is within, ADA requirements. Or
Does it have to be done quarterly? I mean, I read the state law about it and that just says it needs to be monitored.
Sure, and I
It
think,
doesn't say quarter.
no, I think quarterly is a happy medium though. If you do it yearly, are you looking to do it more or less?
Less.
I don't know, I thought it was fairly.
So with the documents getting uploaded to the website, e-documents and such, our recommendation, I think, has been quarterly, just to make sure that it's being maintained throughout the year. That's what we see in most of our districts.
It appears that most of the stuff had to do with, like I said, the ADA compliance and the fact that people visually impaired and orally impaired.
Sure.
Yeah, and we don't change that structure from year to year. So unless the law changes, it would seem like we're gonna be compliant. And so a yearly check would seem sufficient versus quarterly.
I think it's more of making sure that the documents uploaded are maintaining that ADA compliance. Was going back, probably 10 years ago, there was a cottage industry, people going around filing, looking at districts that they didn't reside in and filing lawsuits, which kind of necessitated these checks. So I would say, I don't believe, I can go back and check the statute, I don't believe there's requiring it quarterly. If you want to back it to yearly, that may be doable, I want to confirm that, but I would say you should something go wrong, you're kind of opening yourself up to a potential ADA lawsuit.
What's the cost?
I think it's 364 a quarter.
Yeah, that's what it was. And we talked about it, I think, in one of the last meetings. I mentioned it looked like it had been double billed. But apparently there were 2 quarterly billings. But that's a lot of money for what has not changed since the last time we went and updated the site to ADA specifications.
When you find out, we can do it this year.
Yeah, I'll put that down. I can certainly put that up.
That's money.
Yeah, I'm thinking, periodicity for this is probably necessary. I think maybe biannual.
Well, I personally think once a year would.
I think once a
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of a survey and see what other.
I did go
clients are
through
doing as well.
the state law on that 69, which was cited. And it only does mention, really didn't mention anything more than once a year.
It is, it's really a balance of, if you want to spend the funds and keep yourself.
Somebody has a very good reason.
Sure.
That's a lawyer talking here.
Yeah.
You wanna keep yourself.
Well, those all time.
Well, no, it's
It's a risk balance.
They have their own team that kind of review these things for the ADA
Well,
compliance.
it's gonna take a week to find out.
Well, I can't speak on their process. To council's point, I think, it's roughly $800 a year for, potentially avoiding thousands of dollars of litigation. And I will say out of the 11 districts that I manage, the other 10 do this quarterly as well. Do you think it's a cost that's beneficial, but open to doing some research on the other work?
So who do we, give her, say, we get, is that how it would work?
Sorry, there was some,
How would we get fined if it was down, we get things to be?
I mean, it would be somebody could file a complaint, an ADA complaint.
So, so.
That these checks are to avoid potential lawsuits, is what they're for.
Everything changes, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
We will come back with an answer. Becky,
Good. Okay, consideration of resolution 25-05 designating officers. Assume that for the building.
That's correct. So because we have a new board member joining us, naturally you have your resolutions to redesignate the chairs. At this time, we would be looking for a motion to nominate the chairman.
I would like,
I don't think.
oh, sorry.
I'll make a motion and read it in. As we well know, the CDD operates under the Florida sunshine laws, so we may not discuss any business with each other outside of our meetings, including acknowledging whether we're willing to run for office. It is at this point only that we can announce our candidacy for appointment. Therefore, after hours of careful and total unbiased consideration, I am honored to announce the nomination of myself as chairman of the Celestial Party. I've been acting full-time chairman for the past 3 months and this solo on for 3 years due to the illness of Jay Williams. I stand as vice president, officer, and supervisor. As such, we have many projects successfully completed under my direction in the past 6 years. All and many others. My business acumen has proven to have helped save heritage by thousands of dollars. In conclusion, my dedication, leadership skills, and ability to foster collaboration warrants your consideration and confidence. Thank you.
You took away my thunder. I was going to nominate Bob Goldstein for chairman of the CDA.
Will you take a second?
Second.
Second, please.
I had a second from Joe, actually. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Your chairman, now we'll take a vote for vice chair.
I would like to nominate, Ken Walters. To consider being vice chair. Ken and I get along very well. We get things done kind of quickly.
Second from
I'll
John.
second that because I appreciate Ken's work on the landscape committee and irrigation and,
Any other comments?
Just take a vote for the record. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Ken Walter is your vice chair. Everybody else will be an assistant secretary along with myself. Melissa Dobbins, your treasurer, will remain Scott Bresdine, and your assistant treasurer, Sean Wildermuth. Any questions before we close this out? Back to you, Bob.
Is there somebody on there?
Sounded like it.
Yeah, somebody I don't think is muted.
Is somebody called in?
Somebody was saying, yeah.
All right, is,
All right.
oh, I'm so sorry, resolution to adopt 2025-05 as stated. Look at motion. Bob? Got a second to that motion? Do I miss that?
We, approve the minutes.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Bob. This is still, resolution 2025-05. I took the motions for the nominees. Now I just need a resolution to formally adopt resolution
We have a
2025.
motion that we not read the vote of change for chair and vice chair.
I'll second.
Second from Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Okay, can we do the minutes?
Yes.
The minutes for July 22nd. Any questions? Make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 22nd, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Second from Ken.
Everybody in favor?
I,
5-0. A ratification of the operating and maintenance expenditures for July. Any questions?
I have one. I noted that Juniper charged in the month of July, 26,772, and then in August, it fell to the or in June, it was the normal number of 23,388. I wondered
I talked to Brian about that.
why that jumped. What?
They've been, giving us credits and they overcharge us. I guess a month or so before that.
That's correct.
So we gotta get a hold of Juniper and say, look, we want a steady amount because it's supposed to be a per diem amount for the month.
That's,
It shouldn't vary.
yeah, that's how we know what's going on.
Right. We always know the first 3 months are different than the last 9 because we got the fiscal year issue.
Right.
So we're working that out with them. Overall, we're gonna be on track.
Yeah, I just wondered why it happened.
So this is something we've been working on, John. Chris, we could go back and forth with Juniper. We indicated a discrepancy as well. It was something on the Juniper end that is, to Ken's point, numbers.
Okay, I just wanted to know that it wasn't some decision to simply increase the monthly.
No. We're executing to a strict budgeted amount for that per diem per month. It really shouldn't vary at all.
No,
It should be spot on every month.
that particular number,
Right.
because we have a lot of other additional charges
Yes.
that come from Juniper that have to be sorted out with the HIDA committee and us and, you know.
As soon as the package went out, I noticed it immediately and I got a hold of Brian.
Yep. We verified.
Yeah.
Thank you. for the-
What is Juniper's contract?
They're up for RFP. Is it this year, Ken? For their?
We have one more year,
One more year.
with Juniper for the CDD. So this is gonna be very interesting to see how this unfolds with the HIDA landscape contract, which we're in the process of getting their proposals in from 5 vendors.
Yeah.
We already got the sheets ready to go and start evaluating the potential proposals here. So that's coming next. So at some point in time, the board's gonna have to figure out, do we wanna just have one vendor on the property? If that's the case, since, you know, the homeowner lot contract is the big contract for the community. We'll have to consider whether or not we wanna piggyback on them.
Well, we've tried multiple contracts.
it's very difficult with vendors.
Too many complaints, we're doing it all in one road. And we need to figure out how to do it all in one, whether it's you or somebody else.
Yeah, based on my experience doing this for 7 years, it's best to have one vendor, one belly button.
Yep.
We have less management problems because we can go right to the source for the different properties in here. That would be the,
Yeah, we got in trouble with Juniper.
right. So, you know, a lot of it's gonna depend on the performance with Juniper as we continue marching toward their deadline, which is 31 December. They have improved, but, you know, this is gonna be a tough decision if we're gonna switch vendors at this point in time.
And then, of course, we bringing in another brand new vendor, start all over again.
Well, yeah, well, the learning curve issues with it, we have a whole host of problems.
I'd like to think Juniper will get through the learning curve and will be.
I would say they're pretty much at the point now where they know the whole property very well.
Hey, but you had brought up, it's been a couple of months, didn't Juniper map out several of the like irrigation routes within the lots that the CDD paid them for? Have we gotten that information from them?
What, mapping?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I don't think Juniper had agreed or.
They're providing it for the hydrant.
Okay,
When they do the repair effort on the wire, they're given like a blueprint of what they put
and
in.
you guys physically have that in hand?
Hydrants.
Hide it.
Okay. But with the overhaul that we're doing, we're expecting them to give us basically a as-built, show exactly where the wire's going, and it's gonna be cataloged. So it will know what controller it's hooked up to, the number of decoders that's out there, the whole litany is gonna be in a written document. We never had that before.
Well, actually, Tropicare did it, and they kept it as their own, they said they did it on their time, whatever, they kept it as their
Well-
proprietary information.
Whatever they did, we don't have.
Well, Brightview did the same thing. They were going through and doing a very big study, but yet they kept all of that information.
This will be the first time we have something in writing that shows exactly where the wires are.
That's what we have to get.
In our,
Right.
That's part of getting it.
Right.
But we are spending much too much money putting it.
Right.
And it's just unfortunate that these expenses are coming to us now.
Yeah. That's why you're also very on that we start on this irrigation.
That's right.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
This is a proactive measure we're doing.
What?
Okay, proactive.
Yeah.
We're
Yes,
assuming we're
there
gonna
was
have a
no
lot of
reserves. There was no reserve set up for this
No,
by Lennar. They basically left it for us. And so it's
Well, they're
kind of popped up.
Yeah, and that's why we didn't increase fees in this community for 5 years.
Absolutely.
Right, so we used that money up, that new top aid was paid for by Lennar's money. So, the issue of, we have to pay for it now.
well, you know, if we didn't do this a couple of years back, it's, the controller's a good example. We're gonna cost all the money this year for the controllers.
Yeah.
I think we've had 4 we have to do.
Yeah, that one from Lightning, that would be.
One from Lightning.
Will get paid for.
We'll get maybe 8,000 back, but you know, this is an example of why we have to plan ahead, program money in the out years to cover these maintenance actions.
Yeah.
You know, we actually planned some of these problems, working with very that thing.
Right.
And that's what started the whole issue. I'm glad we finally are gonna start working on replacing that one.
Right.
Mine still doesn't work, it's still on 5 months.
What's your,
The
sprinkler?
girl comes along and turns it on. And it should be on late.
See, he's in phase 1, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I still don't think the Park 4 valve is working on the main part of the park. Fortunately, we've had enough rain that it's, you know, it's made it through.
Okay, let's move on.
You still need to take a motion, to ratify maintenance expenditures for July 2025.
I'll make a motion.
John,
I'll second.
okay, Jeff,
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
very good. So items for ratification, board, you do have 2 items that are printed out, proposals ending in 985 and 859. These were the annuals that are currently going on, as well as, a irrigation line break on Balboa. These weren't able to make the agenda before, but these have been approved. So take into consideration when you take a motion to ratify items 1 through 5, you're also including the proposals ending, or the invoices ending in 985 and 859.
I move that we approve.
Do you want me to discuss these so they understand what they are?
Does anybody have questions on these?
No?
Go ahead. You think you need to?
Well, I think I need to explain the mulch. So
What's that?
we have 57,340 in the budget for mulch, and the bill's gonna be 53,000 and change. So
Is that about?
it's like $56 a cubic yard.
$10,000 more this year for mulch than last year.
It was comparable.
Well, it is close. Okay,
Yeah.
I was wondering.
So it's 940 cubic yards for the CDD. In comparison to the homeowner lots is 2,900.
Yeah.
So that's the big,
Well, I like the mulch. I think that seems to do a better job staying.
right,
And they'll just go through and add some additional mulch on top of what's already there, right?
right. Exactly.
Yeah, the smoke's going off, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I discussed with, Brian, they came out and inspected one of our pump stations and noticed that the solenoid was acting up. So up's working okay. But now we've gone ahead and approved that solenoid to be replaced because that controls the flow of water through the filtration system in there. So they're gonna come what, Brian?
If they haven't come already, they should be coming within the next 24 to 48
Right,
hours.
so that's gonna get fixed.
So the purpose of that is to take, expression of the motor.
Correct.
Right.
We were worried that it might damage the motor. Yeah. And they have recommended these repairs.
And through the
Yeah,
maintenance, through the maintenance program.
And that's coming up for consideration. When it does come up, I will notate that that's more of a ratification item because it's already been approved.
I mean, all the rest of them there are just standard business that we do.
Any questions on ratification items 1 through 5? If not, take a motion to ratify your items 1 through 5 to include the following invoices notated on the record.
We use it, garage for more. You're very good.
Yeah, Drew,
Did she get them?
Well,
Those are Juniper.
actually, for a period of time, Juniper was cheaper on a couple of the bulldozers. But the issue with them is scheduling it and living to the schedule that they say they're gonna give us. That's been a question mark. I had to get on top of them time after time about if they're gonna tell us to do something on a date, I want it done on that date. And if it's not gonna happen on that date, I need to know. Brian needs to know, okay? But we need to have two of these options, right? You know, Chris Drews, is reasonable price. He provides a date and he gets it done. So I always like to have them in the back pocket. If we want to get something done pretty quick at a reasonable price, you know, we can compete it between both. That's kind of what I'm doing. But we can't just get to the point where we only have one vendor doing this. Because we are really involved with refreshing our property. You know, we have a few more corners to do in Legacy and the whole place will be done. Right? So I like to have that opportunity to have either one do it.
And historically, Drew's used to be more cost effective. Since now we're splitting that workload. Now Juniper has brought down their pricing. So to Ken's point, I think it's good.
I think you just Chris at my house, 10 years.
Yeah, he's good.
He's not going to spend his time.
Yeah.
Very reasonable and, everyone who works for that company is a relative. So they don't tell them they can't do it, your brother is with, Joe.
I'm having him come out, probably in the next week or so and do another inventory on Legacy with the pine trees. Some of those pine trees are, if they look like they're gonna be in hospice, they need to come out.
So you're looking for the motion to ratify items 1 through 5 to include the 2 invoices from Juniper. I make the motion.
Motion from Joe,
I'll say that.
second from Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The next item is actually something that me and Joe have been working on together. The discussion of CBD Gmail accounts. So, would you like to pick this off?
Sure.
Okay.
Basically, for those of you that are familiar with the district's, email address, they have a joint email address, which is, allows the resident to write to all of the directors using one email rather than trying to go online and find each of our emails and copy and paste. So this email address would require no additional workload on behalf of the manager. It's all self-working. And it's not used to send out any emails. Nobody uses it. It just basically is a forwarding service that it would be the choice of the resident if they wanted to write to Brian and also inform the supervisors. They would include that. It's a choice that they would have that they don't currently have. Where now they have to go on the website and they pick a supervisor and they say contact and it just goes to that one. I was just very surprised when I got on the board, the number of things that residents would tell me they had written to the manager about. And of course, we don't get a copy, so we had really no idea. So it's really just a way to keep us more informed. It's going to give you more mail, but again, it's always your choice to read it or not. So that's basically the process of it. And the email's already set up because we used it to set up the YouTube channel so that people can watch these meetings if they can't attend.
Yeah, so what you're considering is having a general email that residents would, send their inquiries to, and then that email would distribute to all 5 board members and staff, what the inquiry was, and then I guess it would give staff, or, I'm sorry, it would give the supervisors an ability to follow up with staff on some of the inquiries. It's pretty easy. We've already done some test
We
projects,
tested it.
so.
I don't know what the value of this is. I'm missing something here. We're not allowed to really communicate amongst ourselves from the group email.
That's not used for us. We don't use it.
So what is,
It's where, if I'm a resident, or these residents here have an issue, and they normally, right now, they would write to, they'd go online and they'd see Brian's email. Then they would see the supervisors, and if they wanted to include them, there's a contact, they hit button, and then they pick the supervisor, so they pick one. So I might get the email, you're not getting it. So what this does is gives the resident one email address, simple to use, heritageviera@gmail.com. When they use that, it's going to go to your email that you have put on the website to use. It's not going to go to your personal, it's going to go to your CDD. And it's just basically keeping you aware of what is being written to the manager. We don't write to each other with it. It's only used by the residents to inform the supervisors rather than cut and paste each one of our emails into an email. We're just trying to make it easy for those that want to advise the supervisors.
That's an information only.
Information only coming in,
Yeah,
nothing going
can't
out.
respond or use.
No response. No, you just only have your personal CDD email that you would use for yourself. This is just gonna put things into your inbox that you can choose to read.
Could we do that?
Yeah, as long as it's a one-way street,
Yeah,
that should,
One way.
as, you know, and I would not recommend that any of the board members send it over to that email address.
Rather you answer, you're all in tips.
No, we
Well-
cannot use that email address, only a resident.
Sure. So as long as it's a one-way street and there's no communication going back and forth between, you know,
We can only write to person.
yeah,
Okay.
I think basically it's a forwarding service.
It's a forwarding service.
So I guess you have to keep us informed of what you're getting, instead of here to here, I'm getting answer. Well, wait a minute, I thought you just said yesterday.
yeah,
you would follow up with me on specific items to determine like, hey, have we done anything about this?
Right.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I wouldn't have any opposition towards it. Pretty easy to. So,
Okay.
So would I make a motion?
Yeah, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that the heritage hotline at vrcdd@gmail.com be created and used by the residents to contact, forward their emails to all of the supervisors. Did you want to include yours or did you want to keep yours separate?
In the long, well, the next steps, I plan to do an email blast to the residents notifying them that they have a new email that they can, send their inquiries to. And this email will include all board members and staff.
And staff, so add that to my motion, please. Thank you.
Do you have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, David. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bob.
Solenoid replacement, gone over some better.
Yes.
Yeah, that, so it's not consideration, that's gonna be ratification, we've already approved this, I will take a formal motion.
Make a motion that we do the, solenoid replacements, value of it.
It is behind tab 7, I wanna say it was 2,600.
No,
1678.
Right.
84. 1,600.
Yeah, second.
Second from John.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is the value of safety proposal?
This is the additional areas, I believe on Carambola, that Precision site, remember we gave a not to exceed of, I believe, 15,000, but due to Jay's passing, this was kind of tabled, so we are formally bringing this for the board's
How
consideration.
many are left to do?
What was that?
How many are left to do?
Well, next year, we're gonna do our final phase, which will include, I believe, phases 6 or potentially 5 through 8. Yeah, 5, right?
We need to put it on with them?
Well, this is just, to finish out.
Yeah, this is the one where you and I said they weren't gonna be able to do the whole road. And we said if it was less than 15,000, that we wanted to complete the project in that phase instead of leaving it partially not done. So this would be completing the phase we already did.
I'll make a motion.
Can I just verify the amount real quick?
Well, we have enough money to cover it. We have, actually in the reserve line for sidewalk maintenance and repair, there's $12,251 left.
Yeah, 10,000.
So this bill is about 10,000.
So August 28th, yeah, it'll range from 97 to 10,695. So we do have enough to cover, yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, that does, insurance requirements.
Who was my motion? I'm so sorry. Was it John?
John. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Was that much more money for this year?
Slash review. So the fees were actually, the fees that you're considering were, presented in your proposed budget for some of the fee increases, to Rosetta's, management service, accounting services. I have verified these are the amount that you approved in your proposed budgets. If you'd like, you could come back to this after we review the budget just to determine what those numbers are. Or we could do that now. It's up to you.
To come back to it.
I think we can come back to it.
Sure.
Yeah, when we sat down and did the budget, we had the contract in front of us with the increases.
Yep.
So we just add those in for the line items that we're paying for with Rosetta.
I mean, honestly, I don't think we're getting what we heard. I mean, it sounds like 10%, but it's only $90. And, of course, because everything is low in fees and everything else, it just makes percentage sound big, but dollars percentage is peanuts per day to keep this community going. So we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Pension pressure, what's the last time, do we do that as needed or all of it?
So yeah, there was some inquiries from residents about pressure washing in the line item, the reason why the big jump. We do all of our sidewalks every 2 years. So this year, we're budgeting the full amount because we're gonna do the entire community. Before we do that, it's been brought up by some residents submitting some inquiries that the park benches, the benches throughout, Heritage Island need to be pressure washed. There was a recommendation by a board member that we consider this before we do our biannual cleaning around late October, November. And the price is very good. The 40 is an estimate for 40 benches. There may be more than 40 benches at which you would incur a $75 cost for any additional benches over the 40, but it also might be under. So working with some board members, this was the number that we had discussed in history, and this is what we think we have in number of benches. So the board's considering 3,000 for 40 benches.
Want to do that, Dave? Promotion?
I move we,
Before you do, I'm sorry, he said something about the big jump in the price, and I didn't quite get the explanation of why.
What is it?
No, I meant the pressure, is this the pressure washing also of the sidewalks?
No,
But you mentioned them both in the same thing, I wasn't sure.
no, I was quoting just because our biannual pressure washing is coming up. You technically could consider to do the benches while they're doing the entire community. I don't know if there will be.
Is this a
cost.
different, is this a different vendor from the one that does the entire sidewalk?
This is going to be one of the vendors that you will consider in your big projects, but you'll most likely have 3 bids for that project.
Yeah, the other one's a couple of bucks more.
I thought this was Hector.
This is Hector.
This,
Yeah, this is Hector, yeah.
sure.
Bob, question, it's invoice within our package number 471, and it's actually 4 benches at $75, 3,000. But I think I heard a conversation to maybe more than 40 benches to do.
We'll find out on the end and the parts and stuff.
And so it's
So I have to make a separate resolution. Let's do one head and number right now.
You could do it up to, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not to exceed amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair to.
How many guys do in the parts now? Do you know that?
I couldn't tell you that.
We went through this discussion about 2 to 3 years ago on the board. And unfortunately, I remember 40 was a number that was presented, but I also qualified, and said, but hey, I may be wrong. So
Put in some.
we're going with it. I don't think it's worth doing a search because like Brian said, it's basically $75 a bench. And if it turns out there are 44 or it turns out there's 36.
Want to use the number on two?
Not to exceed.
55, let's say.
5,500. Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, is that your motion, baby?
That seems pretty high to fit.
That's,
Fix that on two.
Yeah, I would say maybe 4,500 maybe.
I think that would, yeah,
Maybe seven doesn't mean we're gonna pay.
right. Well,
We don't know.
The difference.
Why do you need 3? If you do 45, it's 48, you have to pack it. Let's do a number that's higher than we know is.
I appreciate that, but
technically, we should approve this invoice 471 of 3,000, and then you would make a separate motion to on it, to add a buffer.
Yeah.
You correct?
Same as we did with the sidewalks where we approved the thing and then
Invoice 471 in the amount of $3,000 to clean the ordinance.
Let's make a motion on the first one.
you did.
Any seconds?
Second.
Second from Joe. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now make the second motion.
Second question is that if the number of benches exceed 40, that the CDD will pay $75 per bench in the excess of 40 benches, not to exceed $1,000.
yeah, that should more than cover some.
Yeah, that's,
I'm pretty sure 40 is not a bad number.
Oh, then I'm gonna close 51.
I'll second the second motion.
We're getting that.
All right, so we have David and Joe on the second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. The hearing on the final budget. Is there anybody left? Figured it's funny, everyone would say that's why we put it at the end. It worked out. Typical CDD, right?
Should have appointment at the end, which did.
Any
you know,
questions?
before we go into that, Bob, I just want to give you a little update with our FY25 execution. I think for the first time, we're gonna be right down to to our total for the year, we won't have a lot of money rolling over. We'll have reserve money rolling over, some of the accounts. But for the O and M piece, based on the execution that we're doing, remember, we're in August, we only have one more month to go.
Right.
Right, so 30 September that's it. So we should be in pretty good shape rolling over, to start the next fiscal year. And we've taken care of some of the, what I would call sweet money today, especially with the irrigation project.
Yeah, that's gonna be the only thorn.
Right, but we're gonna be able to eat that out of what we have,
You already had a good deal, and
yes. So we should be good there.
I feel confident about it going over these.
So unless we have a catastrophe or something, emergency arises in September, which living here, you never know,
Right.
you might. Other than that, we should be in pretty good shape to close the books. So we're looking for our August numbers, which we don't have yet. And then we can go from there.
You know, the irrigation banding is a big problem.
Yeah. But we have sufficient funds in
So,
there.
you know, we could always, go to the other account and get some money out of that because it's supposed to be there for replacements.
Right,
We're not using it, but that's what's there.
so that's our take, Brian and I. You agree, Brian?
Correct, yes, I do agree.
We spent enough hours on this, right?
Yeah, yeah, we've done, 3 separate meetings, 2 hours apiece. You've got a very accurate proposed budget, just to remind the board, we scrubbed against all your current contracts, all the terms that were coming up, saw the projects that we were planning on, you accounted for bridge repairs, you accounted for irrigation.
How much, maybe not much repairs, how much money we put aside?
I believe you set aside 170 in your reserve. Well, 170, and then I think you carried over to offset the cost. Let's see. So, before we jump into the budget, would the board like to open to public, comments? Or- Well, no, we just have to formally,
Formally do it.
so do you want to open up for public comments before we get into the numbers? Okay, I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion, we open the public hearing on the budget.
Motion, please, Joe. Second, second, Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is, open. Any public comments on the budgets?
Yes.
Yeah, come on up. You just need your name and address.
Rod, you may be the only one, we'll give you 2 extra minutes.
Jared Berg, 3373 Karen Bowl, sir. Just put it off.
Could you use the microphone? It's for the people that
Oh,
are remote.
okay.
Use the microphone, Jerry.
Thank you.
Trying to get it on. Is it on there?
Gotta turn the switch.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
Okay,
There we go.
okay. Going to repeat the address, 3373 Karen Bowl, so from Jared Berg, just off the $80,000 for scraping the sidewalk, at least for next year. It's not really necessary. It's basically spending that money right now. We didn't have as much rain this last year. It's not as bad. It's not the whole thing, and don't do the whole project. Just use the bad areas. Try and find someone who will just be the guys where it's. Don't do the scraping the sidewalks if it's not really necessary. Don't let the contractor tell us that he's not gonna do the contract unless he gets the whole, all the stuff. It's really like a tail wagging the dog. And don't let the contractor fall off the job. Last year, we did half of the sidewalk and then he stopped. The reason I heard that he stopped was that he had other work to do, other contracts, so the taking long for a while. But then he came back months later. Okay, that's it, thank you.
thank you. Any other public comments on the budgets? Hearing none, be taking a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Sorry.
Had a second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Brian, can you confirm the last time all of the sidewalks were done? Because I know we do them every 2 years. And he mentioned last year. I don't believe they were done last.
They were not done last year, no. They were done, we're in 2025, they were done in 2023.
Only once. Every year, without that, but generally, when we.
We've always talked to,
Yeah.
and I have to say, personally, my opinion, and that's all it is an opinion, is that longer than 2 years, it's too much. I think the sidewalks are really looking dirty in the parks and most of the walking sidewalks, which is what this contract does, because to get in the parks, you need a contractor who can get his hoses into the park. A local guy can't do just the sidewalk.
And I guarantee you're gonna hear from the residents that have lived here for a long time that know that they're done every 2 years for the last whatever, and that if it's not done,
Well,
they expect it to be done, they're spending their money to have it done every 2 years.
this item here is basically a fixed cost. It's been baked into our budget for years.
Yeah.
The only issue is the cost. If we can get it cheaper than what we have budgeted for.
Yeah.
And that's something where the competition will come in,
Yes,
okay? But we need to budget enough money to cover it because everything is going up in price. Nothing's going down, everything's going up. Okay? So I hear you, Jerry, but we've been doing this every other year in here, and
It's a big jump.
well, perhaps we could save money when we award the contract.
They're spending that.
Right.
Said it wasn't done last year, how come it was in the budget for 30,000?
Please allow me to clarify. So biannually, the board will do its pressure washing of all of the sidewalks. Every other year, that budget is reduced to the 30 that you saw to account for any spot treatments or, as case in point, this year, we did the curbs along Legacy Boulevard. So if you look back on your previous financial year, you'll see that the full allotted amount was actually accounted for. So the board, in order to limit increases on an annual basis, will fluctuate this item depending on when it is required. And I will confidently say, I've gotten at least 50 emails over the last year of residents stating that the sidewalks need to be maintained better. So this is a requirement. The board has already put it into maintenance. You'll see it fluctuate every 2 years, but this is the norm.
and I would say surprisingly, clean sidewalks is one of the best signs of a good community. And unfortunately, I think that's what we have to do.
David?
I is responsible for a significant amount of sidewalks as well.
Responsible for the
Aprons.
Right.
And the
In the clubhouse.
So when this project has been done in the past, it was important for hires to coordinate the apron repair with CDD with sidewalk repair. And if I remember correctly, there was a year that didn't happen seamlessly.
There was a year I took it down doing it.
And so my point is, I did this as a separate contract that we would engage for the same service, although it's our payments. So,
When we do it together, usually they save the money.
Yeah.
yes, so this, to get right to my point, Bob, is we don't know exactly how much this is, but if we do it collectively and get competitive bids, we should be able to save money on it. I do know the sidewalk, it's intermittent for some areas that are clean, like the one in front of them. And so there's several sidewalks that look like they haven't been done in 10 years. And it's some look like they were done yesterday, but I think what happens is a lot of the homeowners, when they get their paved driveway papers done, they are having this part of their work. They'll clean the aprons and the sidewalk in front of their house. I've seen that happen on my street. And then it leads to the inconsistent.
Yeah, they absolutely do that. That happens quite a bit. In fact, can't stop us from having to do it.
Yeah.
But generally, when that year comes up, how you know, do you want to do your aprons too, so we can put them together. But Jerry, you're on that side, we're on this side. We get a ton of complaints from residents when they're dirty. And it's an unfortunate thing that they get dirty, but they get dirty because of the sprinkles or anything else. And there isn't much we can do about that at this point. We're redoing the electrical part, we're not redoing that part.
And hopefully,
The other thing is, that we really need to have one vendor with two customers. For this, when they do the sidewalk, they should continue and do the apron.
Yeah.
With one vendor. We don't wanna have one vendor come in and do the sidewalks and say, oh, we don't have the aprons, and skip that. So we wanna make sure that it's consistent when we get the vendor in here to do the aprons and the sidewalks.
Not that we do the curbs.
I
We
just,
need from Anna real quick, we need, so we've already gotten with Anna on the square footage for the sidewalks. If Ida could provide us the count of aprons and the square footage for each. When we go out to bid, we could include this in their proposal.
Yeah, that's a number that probably exists.
hopefully we answered your question about the difference and why it was so much higher, because it's the every other year thing. And so you were comparing it to a year that we did not do the entire community, and that's why the jump. Okay, and then we're now it's the year that we do it. So next year you would come and say, how come it went down so much? Okay,
I would also add the curbing.
yes. Do we include the curbing when we do the
Curbing
sidewalk?
is usually done
Every other.
Same.
as a separate item.
Oh, really?
Because it almost is the same cost as sidewalks, and I believe in the past, we sort of felt curbing is not as necessary to do every 2 years.
Right, you know, the curbing issue is not really related to safety.
No,
The sidewalk issue is related to safety.
well, safety and cleanliness.
Right.
I think the
Now, we did the
clean side-
curbs, I think 3 years ago, and they dirtied up within 6 months.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, our sod is getting so high and
Right.
thick. There's many more areas that flood and don't drain as quickly, and that ends up leaving a dirty sidewalk.
Now, there's also however here, and that is, over the last at least year, we're paying more attention to areas in the sidewalk where we get a call and it's really bad.
Yeah,
Then Hector comes in and he goes in there and spot cleans.
that's right, we have done that.
So some of the dollars for that is also coming out of this budget item here. So,
Was it you or was it John that brought up the last time about the sealant for the sidewalks, that maybe that would be beneficial for the
oh,
curbing,
yeah.
for the curbing?
You
Because
Yeah, I already got the numbers from Anna. The gross number for linear feet is 835,000 linear feet. If we were to put sealant down on that,
Mhm.
the estimate we got from Sunburst was $235,000. So that's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, and I think I would like to add to it, part of the problem with it too is they usually need to block the sidewalk and nobody can traffic on it for the day.
I don't think the community can swallow 235.
I agree.
No, it wasn't for the sidewalks. I was wondering about the curbing is so much less, but might have that same benefit of having it not get so dirty as quick that the stuff would run off. That's what you said for the sidewalk. So there's a lot less curbing.
The fellow with the hurricanes runs, it's simply happens in one area, it varies like over there. And so even when we clean, that's it. Right, that's the.
That's why I hope the ceiling.
So we don't really do it every 2 years, per se, we expect it, that decide.
To do the sealing is a
How
non-starter.
long would the ceiling have lasted? Did they give you a guarantee?
No.
None.
All we did was ask, number one, how many linear feet we have. Anna provided that. Number two, they came in and said, hey, for that kind of linear feet, you're talking $235,000.
Yeah.
To do it. You know,
Whether it's worth it or not, it's not that number.
right,
It's a nice way. I personally prefer the power wash.
right.
And, you know, since we got after, we got a lot of us plans to go, the rate to do stop cleaning. And that's another reason you see certain areas clean, is we continue to clean in 2 years in between, whenever it becomes a real answer.
Right.
And people like my husband goes up and does the sidewalk in front of our house. My brother does the same thing next door. So my street looks pretty clean.
Yeah, and Phil, any other? Any in the audience?
So that was,
We've already.
that was pressure washing, so
Give it another shot.
let's jump into the budget and see if there's any, updated inquiries from our proposal. The budget has not changed. If you direct yourself to the page two on the top right. You see some of those Rosetta increases that are being proposed in that agreements under administrative. So accounting services are remaining the same, administrative services are remaining the same. You've had a cost savings in your auditing service of 1,000. District engineer line has gone up slightly, just for the projects that we're coordinating with the bridges next year. And then the district management fee has a variance of 1522. So that's mainly what you're approving for the fees. And the only other item, you see 1362 is your website housing maintenance, which includes, I think, 1,300 for Rosetta, but in this line item, you also have your campus suites quarterly, as well as your annual, contract with them. So it's not just the Rosetta line. So that's administrative. Do you have any questions? Yeah. So if you look at page 23 of the first amendment, it should verify the annual billing. So yeah, management 39,584, administrative 6,717, no increase. Accounting 22,523, no increase. Financial revenues and collection 5,678, no increase. Disclosure reports, no increase. And website housing has a 1320 allocated to Rosetta. Any questions on administrative before I go on to field operations? All right, utility services for budget consolidation purposes on page 3. You see electric utility, we eliminated the utility streetlights and we're just having one electrical charge with the needed budgeted amount. So where you see an increase for 98, it washes with the 86,325 to put together one line item for 137,000 for electrical. Fountain maintenance is going up slightly as we discussed. We just have some upcoming fountain maintenances that are coming up for repairs. General liability.
Well, didn't we have a rust problem with one of them?
We do, yeah, you're gonna be considering some like cat proposals soon to replace like the cat.
On both.
On both, yes. So that's coming up. Landscape mulch, we worked with Juniper for months trying to verify what the next year's cost for mulch is. Obviously inflation, cost of goods are going up, so you see that variance there. Per the landscape contract, there is an annual renewal, so you also see that variance there. And then the sidewalk pressure washing that we just discussed.
Now, that landscape maintenance item includes 3 months of the old rate and then 9 months of the new, because our fiscal years are different. Okay? So we sat down and figured out what that was. Right?
Correct. Everything is extremely accurate to your contracted amount and what we're projecting for next year's project. Any questions before I jump into the reserve? Okay. So for the reserve account, you are budgeting a total of 178,000 to the tax roll. The bridge repair is the big one here. So you have allocated over the next 3 years to make up 57,000, which the total comes out to, I think it was 170 that we were forecasting for. To offset the immediate increase to the residents, you are carrying over $113,000 from your surplus. And basically you're going to account for the total amount of the bridge repairs, which was roughly estimated at $170,000 over the course of 3 years, bless you. So next year, this allocation for balance forward will drop down to 57,000, and then the following year, it will be 0, and we will catch up.
All right, let's just go back here, just so they understand what we're doing here. The 57,500, that was a one-time payoff. So it's not a budget item that you keep in the budget. Since it's a one-timer, then we don't need to keep it in the baseline. However, we reduced it, but then if you look up here under irrigation repairs overhaul, you've got the 55,000 increase. So the net effect is negligible in there, okay? So that 55,000 will be used for phase 1 common area. If this plan goes as we see, right? So that's where that money is, okay? So we're taking care of 2025 if we get this award done in September. And then we're looking over the horizon for phase 1, and that's the CD number. And it may be a little bit high, but I don't know how far off it's gonna be because you got over 200 homes in phase 1. It's a bigger phase. And we probably have more zones for CDD in there. I mean, the microscope is on phase 3 right now, but
Got the parking one too.
and the parking, right? So that's why we picked that number up in there. Does that sound reasonable?
Okay, and then your final phase of sidewalk repairs will be covered between your 30,000 allocated in the reserves and I believe your 24,000 allocated in the general funds. That could sum up your general fund and reserve. Any inquiries? 45,000 in the general.
Wanted to ask one question because of something I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like it's been that long since we did the bridges and did quite a bit of repair on them. I think it was, I'm guessing, around 2015, but I'm not sure. 2015 or 2016. And it seems like the bridges are coming up sooner than I would have expected because I seem to remember 12 years or 14 years on that. So
Yeah,
I'm curious, is that the bridges, the wood that was used?
That's the word, right? What we're looking at now is what it takes now for 20 year old bridge to do this stuff because
Yeah,
other than just doing a piece of wood here, a piece of wood there.
yeah, but we had done it,
We did years ago, this is almost like a replacement repair.
okay.
Because we're actually gonna have to go in the water for the contaminants and we're gonna. So you're right, that was kind of done
It seemed shorter than I would have hoped.
right. Well, whatever was done, repair would still be good, but if we're gonna change it all to composite, we're gonna have to get rid of it.
Well, and maybe that'll give us a few more years.
Yeah, so, we'll take a look at that when we get some numbers on it. That'll be in the fall.
Okay, I just,
So let me ask you a question on this. Since it's now 9 or 10 years down the road, are we looking at a potential problem with the structure itself
Yes.
that's holding the bridge up? On it, what is your take on that?
No, I mean, the last inspection, the structural components, the pilings of themselves were fine. But we do want to go out there and make sure that, have them checked, take a look at, it's been in the water, there is a bacteria in the water that we all know will start eroding the piling. My gut feeling is the pilings are gonna be fine. Are there maybe a couple that need to be, tighten up those stringers along the line, maybe tighten up for sure. Certainly, we're gonna switch to composite because composite has the ability to flex more than lumber does. So we'll need additional stringers on the bottom side to make sure that those, composite boards don't bow. It flex out, so there'll be some additional improvements there that are needed, but I'm not expecting any, major structural, components that they've been finding. I'm sure again, there's probably been some hardware that needs to be, replaced and that kind of thing.
So they have to be checked.
Yeah, correct.
And they may have to be reinforced because they're going to deposit.
And they're only 20 years old now, right?
and I think that's one of the accounts that Lennar did not do much to build a reserve. And we had to kind of catch back up and rebuild a sufficient reserve to take care of the bridges, which I think is higher than.
I think the bridges have always been in the reserve study from day one, so
They
that's
were,
not.
but I don't think there was very much money set aside. Don't know.
No,
The developer, you know, in their defense, they just have a different operational game plan. They're like building the infrastructure, keeping the property, you know, to tip top shape for obviously, you know, sales.
I'm not
Once you
naive
turn
about
to
that.
a
I understand the way it works.
you then start focusing on these greater items, and you're 20 years established, so this is.
Yeah, and you know, it depends which way you look at that word reserve.
Yeah. Well, and I know people are concerned that we're having to raise the budget. I think what we're trying to say is we're trying to raise it to kind of keep everything balanced because we've got some very expensive systems to maintain.
Sure.
right.
So we maintain about 6 or 7 things, if you break it down to $90, it's like 48 cents a day.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of ridiculous, that, oh my God, you went up 10%. Yeah, you went up 10% because you only paid $90 for it.
Well, and the thing you're doing, you're eliminating a one-time assessment.
Right.
No one wants to do that. It's not using.
Don't even use that word. I don't even want that word out.
That one-time assessment, right? That one-time assessment is.
You know,
But even pressure washing, if you look at it, it comes out to be about $25 a household. And we were just talking about it. I spent over $100 on mine and did the front sidewalk too.
people want to
So
know,
25 is not
Not a big
a
number.
lot of, it's just a chunk of bucks.
if people want to be honest about everything we take care of, the amount of money we spend per house. It's what the question before was, why is the house $100? Because it's done on a square foot of the lot that you have. And that's how it's decided. You know, whether it's the state or, you know, whatever the names they use inside the state. And that's how the CDD is decided whether you're paying $78 or $90 on a square footage of it, or anything else. What those people on this board, I don't know if Kenny was on this board or not, we made an agreement with the number, I know, I think it was working for us at the time, I wasn't here, but West may have been, or maybe pre-West. We got a 97 from the North, and anybody else would call Tuttlebane money. So we didn't pay for many things for a very long time, we just didn't increase anything.
And that may have been the
It's
board.
come to mind.
And the not left this with the job's not done.
Yeah, well,
The board took care
no,
of the
not
residents,
really,
but now
we had a list that was from 1 to 5, is that thing was set up?
So, a little rusty on it, but like phase 7, for example, I mean, I walked that entire area, any hairline crack was identified, and I would tell you through regular construction, you would have walked right by it.
Right.
And you guys, we did not walk right by it, and you report almost all the curb out there, all the sidewalk, all of that stuff. So there were a lot of items that, because at the time that those later phases came online, the board was resident run, that you were able to, you know, to capitalize on that and make sure that we got a good, fully functioning product. And there wasn't a, you know, a payment at the end that was negotiated through, you know, engineering, legal, kind of. Things that were right, and a list of items as well that the.
Cause I remember them coming in after we took over, but the barn was out, but they hadn't done the landscaping around the pond that was between Balboa and Quint, and they came in afterwards, and that's.
So I think, yeah, so part of the confusion and the misunderstanding or frustration is that when the project was initially developed as phase 1, which was, you know, phase 1 just south of the clubhouse and legacy up to the clubhouse, there was landscaping and stuff done. Each subsequent phase that came in had a different landscape plan, had a different theme, had different home sizes. So I think if I remember right, phase 6 is the one that, like, you know, there's the berm, but it wasn't landscape, but in phase 4, it was landscape to the start, you know, it looked amazing. And so there was always this, they forgot to come back and landscape it. Nobody forgot, it was a different landscape palette because the earlier phases, believe it or not, folks complained about all the landscaping. They didn't want to take care of it. It's too much maintenance. Nobody likes it. There's rats and animals that are coming in. So in later phases, they pared the landscaping back because they were still hearing those comments. And then what happens is they leave and then, you know, everyone has an opinion, right? Like that's just how life works. And so now with it being, you know, your board, your community, you guys have been able to take a look sort of holistically at the community as a whole. I'm picking on the landscaping component And then in the parks, for example, some of the parks are really ornate and other ones are not. And that was strategically done because of the feedback that was provided. But again, now that it's yours, you guys can do with it as you see fit and make modifications pretty much to it.
I might be crazy, but that pond between Quinn and Balboa, which is the one that's forever, at the other side doesn't seem to be done. If I stand at Balboa and look towards Quinn, and when the water goes down, especially when it goes lower, the ground is a nice little, swoop down. The other side looks like it was eaten away with a cliff with no grooming, no anything. I mean, it just ended. So, there's just a real big difference. In the past, I've taken pictures going, this is what I look at, this is what they look at. And it really was just never graded.
Well, So
That would be graded, that's okay.
that's one of the reasons we had a lot of money into it. Years ago, we started to increase the budget.
Yeah.
We went a long time without paying anything.
That's right, and that caught up with us. But now,
I remember the numbers we had to invest based on what this group had given us, 135, it would have cost us around 200,000, which that was $575,000.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
So that was pretty good.
They don't usually pay that out either.
Yeah, so we've used up that money now over the last 7 years, 8 years. Now we got to increase every year.
Sure.
And luckily, insurance did not go up much.
What time?
That was the last item. Anybody?
Take a motion to consider, adopt resolution 2025-06, adopting your fiscal year 25-26 final budget as stated.
So moved.
So moved, Joe.
Second.
Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We got one more public hearing, bear with us. All right, Kyle, you want to take this one? Imposing special assessments?
Yeah, this resolution really, walk through quickly, really this just those special assessments that will pay for, the budget that you just adopted and direct staff to, go through all these statutory requirements, send it over to the tax collectors that will be collected by the Newport method, show up the tax rules, get it recorded and, have Brian's team, keep up with the assessment rules. So, we do need to have a public hearing on this. We'll need to open that up. But that's what this resolution is.
Collecting the money. Motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
John?
Second.
I had a second from Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
All right, any comments on imposing special assessments? Hearing none, you looking for a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
David?
second.
Second from Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything to add, board, for the imposition
Okay,
assessments?
you see this? That's gonna be on my golf cart.
That's what
Okay, I'm not walking this property. I'm gonna be in the car. I may be on the sidewalks if I have to look at something that needs to get fixed. I'm just letting you know if that's okay.
I actually thought about making a motion that you be given a banner for the front of your.
On the flag,
Whatever, okay?
whatever it takes.
Because I know
To
the sign thing.
justify having your car on.
But I try to stay on the streets as much as I can, but there may be a time I have to go inside.
So you guys are too young to remember this, so when I was a kid growing up in New York, the way we, did ads to go to restaurants and stuff was the guy wore it over, had it on the front, and had it on the back. I think we ought to get Kenny one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your number
I
in.
think for now we'll use this.
I think the rest in the vest, like he asked the mayor, the rest in the vest.
Before we close down, just need a motion to adopt resolution 2025-07 and imposing special assessments. Motion,
I'll make a motion.
John. Second, David, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I think supervisor comments are up. Anything supervisor?
One, I'd like to welcome David to the board
Yes.
and, forward to having him teach us things. Or vice versa.
Welcome aboard.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other supervisor comments before we turn it over to the residents?
Yes, I want to thank the board,
for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. You're extremely talented. And I'm glad that we're sitting at the tables, and I look forward to working together until the start of the next year. I do like to ask for clarification from the city attorney. My familiarity with boards, and Florida Statute 720, even with the district board, is that directors can converse with each other at any time on any subject, as long as it's not a quorum of directors doing that. For instance, when I served on the Best Western Board, we had 7 directors. Any 3 of us would talk about any issue at any time. We could email each other. And it wasn't considered official business by statute for Arizona for them. I need clarification on what is the Florida statute? What is the precedent that I can't have a conversation with Bob or Kenny outside of me?
Yeah, we had a sunshine law packet that I can send you that goes through this, but I did want to speak with you and Ken, because you are under the sunshine law at this point. So any communication between board members on CDD matters in between meetings is prohibited. So, Ken, with your HIDA work, if you're sending emails to HIDA regarding the CDD business, you're going to need to drop him off those emails.
I'll have to go through the liaison,
Yeah.
the HIDA liaison, which would be Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you two can.
I can't talk to you directly
About
that
business.
about
Yeah.
CDD business. Now, I can talk to you about HIDA business.
That leads me to the question of the required training that we've had to take, being that he's coming in at a mid-year. So is he required to take that training for this year, or can he wait until next year?
You are not required to do the ethics training